east and west wing, which contains rooms such as a bar and a lounge, also a kitchen and a dining area. Connecting.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Playday 3 of the XP Esports Women's League. Not the face you're expecting, but I am here. My name is Proto. Joining me is Cthulhu. Unfortunately, Blue Panda has caught spicy cough, ladies and gentlemen. Cthulhu, how are we feeling going into this evening?
Look, honestly, I'm excited for tonight. The week 3 upon us, meaning that already we have quite a few names solidifying themselves on the top of the leaderboard, but that does open up still a few more opportunities for the teams that didn't really manage to really find themselves a breakthrough at the beginning of the season to be back on board. And I think that's exactly what's going to be the whole kind of storyline for tonight, is just getting out of that rut and getting back into the swing of things, really.
100%. And speaking of getting back into the swing of things, for anyone new joining us tonight, let's have a quick recap of the league format and everything else related to this season of the Women's League. Just like the previous 8 teams come into the group stage, 7 weeks of single round robin best of 1 series games. Then we move on to the semi-finals, which is a week long with best of 3 games. And then obviously the one that everyone wants a slice of, the grand final, ladies and gentlemen, for 3rd place and obviously 1st and 2nd. And that has been relatively similar for the last 2 seasons. And speaking of teams, Cthulhu, we have 8 very lovely teams for this season.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, we have quite a fair few returning names, quite a fair few new names as well. Big Brain Esports coming into the play, Triare being the newest addition, but also the return of the New Zealand Warriors, or Vodafone Warriors Esports, as well as Altered Edge joining, Volpes coming back, Radical Rebels as well. So quite a fair few names popping up, ready to take on just the new challenges and see if they can really dethrone the previous season's champions that are Warriors.
Speaking of champions, these teams are obviously playing for something at the end of the day. Obviously, a big cut of that prize pool, $3,000 provided by Ubisoft Australia. Thank you very much to them, with $1,500 going to 1st place and $1,000 for 2nd. 3rd, obviously taking away $500, and then some credits for the 4th place team as well. So the top 4 teams, definitely something to play for, and definitely something to worth having a crack over, Cthulhu. But something new that we are now going to get to have a look at is the weekly best play. I believe this is the first week. Sorry, best moments. Weekly best moments, I've just been told it's been renamed to. But I believe we actually may have one tonight.
Believe so. So yeah, we do have actually quite a fair few contestants initially that entered from the beginning of the last week, and we had even actually 2 of the clips come into the Hour 6 compilation that Ubisoft Australia did manage to put together, which was actually kind of a very clean cut as well. So honestly, plenty of opportunities for players to show off their elite gaming skills, and more opportunities to get some very solid chibis as well.
Yes, R6 Chibis, quite poggers, I will admit. But all aside, get your clips in for this week. Do not forget and go into the running, obviously, to win your own chibi. But let's talk more about this week. The schedule for evening, ladies and gentlemen. On the main stream, we have Radical Rebels versus Altered Edge, and then game number 2 is going to be Big Brain versus Triari. And as far as the B stream is going, I don't believe it is actually running tonight, but off stream we have Benchwarmers versus the Vodafone Warriors and Volpes versus Vertex. So some big games across the board tonight, Cthulhu, and we've got some pretty good ones on the main stream.
Yeah, look, plenty indeed. Look, we have quite a fair few storylines running in running into the into tonight's stream. AE versus Radical Rebels is looking to really change things around. Obviously, given the fact that AE last week managed to actually score a quality 7-1 win over Triari, and for I believe RDC were the ones to get a 7-0 victory over Volpes. So both of the teams trying to push themselves as far as possible. They are both currently in a full-way tiebreaker as well on a leaderboard. So whoever does win it out does get to push towards the third place contention. So the top three is definitely going to be a very good position. As well as that, well, for our second matchup coming in, well, for Big Brain Esports, it's a chance to essentially propel themselves even further, stick themselves to that top two positions. Otherwise, well, if they don't lose, it's not particularly too much of a heartbreaker there. Whereas for Triari, this is a chance for them to really get out of that whole tiebreaker, make sure that they are there to essentially acquire the dubs very thoroughly.
Yeah, round difference is going to be a big thing tonight for the scoreboard for all of the teams involved. Obviously, Warriors looking to retain their first place spot, but Big Brain definitely going to be gunning for it, only one round behind. So could see some interesting lead shake-ups after this evening's games, ladies and gentlemen. But speaking more about these games in depth, let's get into match number one of this evening. Altered Edge versus Radical Rebels. Now, as you already mentioned, Cthulhu, Altered Edge, previous week's play day, 7-1 against Triare. I believe they did have a player absent from that game, so playing with 4 core with 1 sub. So do have to give Triare a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there, but still Altered Edge proving that they are a team that can be beckoned against. And Radical, obviously, unfortunately, not sitting too high at the moment, but still looking good to take one of those upcoming spots.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, RDC still carries quite a fair bit of potential in themselves, given the sheer lineup of the players, the quite a fair few players as well returning to the whole thing. As a matter of fact, let's have a look at the lineups for now. Altered Edge, Queen AFK, Berry, Stormy, Universal, and Kylix. Keelix. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I do apologize for butchering the names, but regardless of that, a team that is looking to be quite strong going into all of this, despite currently being stuck in a 4-way tiebreaker. But regardless of that, showing quite a fair few signs of a promise.
Definitely a really strong team coming into this. One that has some good aggression on the board and definitely can do a lot of damage, but going up against them tonight, team number 2 in this bout is going to be RDC themselves. Aussie Ash, Psycho, Spartan, Meeps, and Mystique with subs, and Missy, Corvice, and Alora. So definitely another team that can bring any style of play to the board, really, that they want to choose. I mean, we've seen some of these players bring out very aggressive styles of play. We've seen these players bust out sort of very passive styles of play. So Radical Rebels is a team that can definitely do a mixed bag of tricks, and I think Altered Edge are going to have their work cut out for them here tonight, Cthulhu.
Absolutely, yeah. This is going to be quite a test to their flexibility in their playstyle, in their performance. Good point, actually, outlining the fact that some of the players did actually flex that very aggressive playstyle. Players like Psycho do end up kind of favoring the more so kind of upfront and very much spearheading the push. So quite curious to see how will RDC really perform here, given that I think this is going to be one of the more difficult matches for them.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a very interesting game, but let's see where this bout is going to take place, Cthulhu. Is it going to be Chalet, Oregon, or Cafe? No. Well, yes, actually, it is going to be Cafe, but it isn't going to be Chalet. So it's not the Chalet League. We are going to have Cafe. We did see a little bit of Cafe last week, but I believe we are ready to crack in to have a little bit more of a flyover through Cafe, ladies and gentlemen. Cthulhu, how do you think this one's going to pan out? Obviously, both teams we've seen play this map before. Altered Edge have shown they know it pretty well. Radical Rebels seem to know it pretty well as well, especially with some of those players coming from rosters like Overt, who had a pretty good Cafe season when they were around. I mean, how do you think this is going to pan out this evening?
Look, I'll honestly say going into this matchup, I'd probably give a little bit more favor towards AE, given just the fact that their performance last time has been a little bit more decisive, and the team that they've beaten, that was Triari. Look, Triari is not a bad team per se either, so it felt like initially like it would have been back in week 2, would have been a much closer contention. Alas, it wasn't to actually happen. So AE possibly going into this as the kind of crowd's favorites, albeit Radical Rebels could certainly bring in the upset with the full swing. So I'm curious what could actually turn out, and I think the main thing is going to be upon the defensive side for both teams, and how will they really damage control during the
defense is going to be a big part here. But starting things off, as always, with the bans, obviously, Altered Edge to lead here with the first pick. Cafe, an interesting map when it comes to the ban side of things. You can see Thatchers to Flores's, Jackal in this case to kick things off. But that is going to leave one of Thatcher or Flores on the board. And I'd imagine, if I had to guess, it'd probably be Thatcher. But, I mean, given Flores' prominence at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one to go here over Thatcher. So, other than that, though, no Fuse. Okay, so Flores and Thatcher on the board, Cthulhu.
All right, well, yeah, look, not gonna lie, the Fuse ban kind of caught me off guard, given the sheer fact that he's very much off meta at the moment, albeit his kit is very flexible, but there's a number of the operators that can do the job oh so much better. But apart from that, look, very controversial ban phase, let's just say that. Jackal, Fuse, Mira, Thorn, with Mira and the Jackal being kind of the only ones that are somewhat within meta, that are kind of understandable for their bans. Fuse feels a little bit weird, more so like a target ban, and with the Thorn, it doesn't make a whole lot of reason and understanding why that ban really came through, but alas, here we are.
Possibly a little bit of a target, maybe. I mean, I know teams kind of do and don't like Thorn due to the fact that Melusi exists and is a playable character in the game, due to the fact that she does her job really, really well, and there is no need to change or replace the way she does her job in any degree. So teams do like to run the Melusi, so that could obviously be the choice. But yeah, the Fuse ban, hard to believe, but I could definitely see the merit to the choice, given that Cafe does have a lot of verticality enabled sites, obviously below the top floor. But even with Fuse's new buff, the hard breach Fuse charges, he can, I reckon it's probably a good ban for Cafe here. Whether or not it's in meta, I would probably lean against most likely not. Yeah. But I mean, hey, if these two teams have been scrimming before and Fuse is something that Altered Edge like to bring, fair enough, take it off the board. Radical Rebels have probably made that decision knowing that Altered Edge want to play that Fuse, and that's probably the best thing to do here. But top floor, kicking things off for Altered Edge, relatively standard lineup, no Melusi on the board, but Valkyrie in play here for Universal.
Yeah, actually quite curious to see how will Valkyrie really play it out, because she does introduce a fair bit of a good verticality, but usually you will see her bringing in the C4. Here, she is being ran with the impact grenade, so maybe emphasis to maybe making a little bit more of that flexible rotation positions and whatnot. But that implies that Valkyrie will be the big off-roamer, and at the moment, well, Universal is playing around the actual site, which feels rather awkward. But apart from that, we'll look at the RDC lineup. The moment the Thatcher is not banned, instantaneously Mystique does bring him in, so it should be a rather effortless time for the Ace of Spartan to get the breaches in. I say that, though, Meeps is not particularly looking very healthy.
Already down but not out, and quickly finished off there by Stormy. That is a huge pick for Altered Edge to find in the first minute of this round on the top floor here. And already speaking about that Thatcher, I mean, Flores not being bought here by Radical, I think, is a little bit of an oversight, given that, yes, Thatcher is in play, but Flores here can be so good on this top floor bomb site. And with that attacker repick now, could have been something we saw there, but unfortunately not. It's only half the round remaining. Altered Edge still have some good time.
Yeah, do bear in mind as well, though, Proto, that with AE bringing in the mute, it will be a bit more problematic on getting into some more thorough nook and crannies. But yeah, so with Thatcher in it, he feels like a little bit more of a kind of a bit more universal kind of idea with that play. But yeah, bringing in both Thatcher and Flores would have been a good idea. But again, well, maybe something for a food for thought, maybe later down the line.
You learn and you progress. Thatcher's to come out here to try and clear this pixel position. Unfortunately, though, no nades to follow just yet. Second Thatcher, but that's actually going to go a little bit deep, but it works out in RDC's favour with them finding 2 very quick kills. Looking into Freezer, however, Berry with the holes is going to find the pick onto Psycho. Now, 3 versus 3. RDC, 2 members both lit, with Spartan now falling as well to Berry on a double. Now it is only left to Aussie Ash, as I'm about to say it, Mystic falls. And that leaves the remaining player to repel into white and try and take on the last 3 members. The flick, but it's not quite there. Aussie is going to find 1, looking for the second, but Queen AFK is there. And Altered Edge going to walk away with round 1 on the top 4.
Gee wish. What looked like initially a solid push by Radical Rebels at the beginning kind of ended up being felled rather quickly by Altered Edge. The fact that it felt like a double kill from Berry on a pre-fire through just a soft wall by Capcan felt like something that should have been droned out, or at least somehow checked with some form of utility. But unfortunately for Radical Rebels, that did not really happen, which, yeah, again, feels a bit of a misplay. But the main thing, actually, that me and Panda even highlighted back on OCL, that within at least the context of this season, the drone economy and drone game is going to be 2 times more important as it was compared to what it was before, because that attacker repeat coming in, the later down the line, the need for that kind of adjustment is going to be very crucial. So for the attacking team not to be as thorough on the drones feels like a little bit of a misplay, and them deciding to kind of face check almost each and every opposition felt a little bit counterintuitive maybe. But again, possibly there's just been some certain situations that they just couldn't risk sitting on the drones. Well, I suppose we'll never know thoroughly. But once again, only just Thatcher there on board, no Flores, but it's a attempt to bait and switch from Spartan, from Maverick to A, so basically same but different.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of that going on. I mean, with Thatcher in play, RDC obviously have the ability to get pretty much any wall they want, and there is no Bandit, there is no Cade being bought here by the Altered Edge defense, so there's not going to be any tomfoolery in terms of tricking going on by the main wall. So probably relatively easy to open with these 2 operators in play, provided you don't lose one of either early on here. But, I mean, RDC, they had good premise on the opener of that round, and now it is really going to be the catch-up game. They're down 1 already. Altered Edge have that momentum to kick them off. Yes, it is early days still, and anything could happen, but, I mean, you do have to take into consideration the mental in terms of some of these games. But some drone work being done now. Altered Edge have a pretty deep extension onto the top 4. Only 2 on site here, and RDC still yet to really make a notable move.
Yeah, if RDC would have drawn that out, they would have been theoretically been able to full-on just send it on site, just play for that numbers push. But again, with that position that I believe Stormy has, it will be rather difficult, because the long angle means that, well, you don't particularly have the very clear vision. But yeah, something that could be worth looking into further down the line. And some other thing too very worth noting for is comparative, at least to OCL, a very different meta. Almost feels like a last season's meta kind of being played here by both sides. But regardless of that, so far so good for Altered Edge.
Oh, that was almost huge there for Berry, but the air jab there to catch out that flank. Some good Z pings here, I believe. Either a bulletproof or default still up for Altered Edge to be playing with on this information, albeit RDC have made a good push into Bakery here. They've sort of read the play. That's another good kill for Spartan to find. It's a 4 versus 2. Killix and Universal, the only 2 members left here for Altered Edge on the defense, with the alibi being low, now taken off the board. As I say that, 2 kills are found. Mystique to find the final. And RDC, they're going to answer back with a round of their own.
Well, at least a good return to form. Radical Rebels had a bit of a wacky beginning to round number 1, and back into the swing of things on round number 2. That was introduced some promising outcomes possibly in the near future for the currently attacking team. But I say that kitchen service and cooking is going to be a retry once again on the side of defense. Very kind of almost feels like just a play for comfort picks for AE, because we don't really see a whole lot of changes apart from the introduction of Cade to the whole lineup, and you have kind of two big roamers in the form of Valkyrie and Alibi, Jaeger to kind of sit on the side and be that just projectile denial. Capcan of Barry feels like a bit of a kind of a coin toss, because kind of the usual rule with Capcan, the less you pick him, the more kind of effective his utility becomes. But in Barry's kind of case here, maybe it feels more so towards just the play for the gun and just the kind of a comfort zone in the gun. Whereas on the side of Radical Rebels, look, we've seen at least, say, with OCL, with OCN, we're seeing a very frequent pick of Finka just because of how recent buffs made her very useful for just the redeeming some of the initial health losses and whatnot, and obviously the remote revival and all that mess. Plus, funnily enough, we're actually seeing a fair bit of the triple kind of grenade operators set up as well, being that, say, Finka, say, Maverick, say, Iana bringing in now, or replace Maverick with the Sledge. Something like across the lines. Very, very explosive utility-centered set of picks for the attack, which we, funnily enough, not really seeing from RDC a whole lot. They saw kind of Thatcher that didn't get banned and say, oh, okay, we're going to make a play for Thatcher and only Thatcher. The rest just stick to our usual kind of almost feels like last season picks, which, again, nothing wrong with that. It feels like, say, a much more organized team, like maybe Big Brain Esports or Warriors, will be able to counter this rather effortlessly.
I mean, with the Sledge on the board as well for Psycho, and then 6 more Breach charges being bought by Meeps and Mystique, similarly. Interesting with so much soft destruction on the board, if this is going to be such a soft destruction oriented push here for RDC. Obviously, pushing into Bakery didn't work for them last time, as we can see now. They do have these walls open to try and deny the play from inside the Bakery itself, but Stormy's going to be allowed to get away relatively scot-free, and the wall's going to get reinforced here by Queen as well, narrowly escaping with her life. But the wall is now reinforced. The player in Bakery is safe. The verticality is now starting to be bought by RDC. And things are starting to look good. Here's these breach charges coming out. So it's working out for them to some degree. Oh, no.
Uh-oh. There's also some presence here by the Alibi as well. That would have been big. There's the frag from Barry as well. So as it stands right now, RDC kind of being caught with their pants down.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of that going on. Psycho now left alone inside of Train, and the two roamers here for Altered Edge have managed to rotate away completely scot-free and leave the Sledge to her own devices inside of Engine there. But only one player down. Still very doable here for RDC. The main breach now opened up and looking to push on towards the site. Queen AFK going to be the first point of contact here for this main breach presence, while Berry is still waiting for that Sledge to make some more vertical or possibly look to even rotate here. But Psycho is not budging. She's still holding inside of this engine room. Is actually going to rotate away as they both start to make their way down. But 30 seconds left. Things are about to get spicy.
Oh, saying it's spicy, yeah. Look, Aussie X already finding the frag onto Queen AFK. Alex is just doing some good job as well, getting that roam sorted. But as it stands, the plant is starting to go down, and no response from Altered Edge as it stands. Well, Mystique finding herself yet another frag. Both remaining players were the roamers, but no checking any positions, and a swing to come through. Aussie X just farms at this point. We possibly could be seeing the conclusion in just a short few moments.
Flashbang out. Post plant here, 30 seconds, a 1v3. Berry is going to have to find 4 if she wants to clutch this round for her team. Very slow down the Red Bull here. Does have some Z-Pinks to play off of, but it's not going to mean too much. Aussie is waiting inside of coat check and proceeds to face check out into the cap can, cleaning things up nicely. That is going to be another round for the attack on what started off being a really good round for the defense.
Absolutely. Look, it feels rather odd with the way how things been really going around, because Altered Edge seemed to have had a good idea and they managed to catch off RDC on a few good plays. But even with the flank that came about on the second floor, it felt very inconclusive. kind of, yes, Barry managed to find a frag. Yes, Kylix was able to grab like a bit of a damage, and then by the conclusion of it all, managed to still get a frag. But it was never locked down. Usually, when you see those flanks coming about, you would want to lock it down and completely nullify that progress, not just, you know, give it like a small bit of inconvenience and then bail out. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that. You would want to deal as much damage to your opponents as much as possible, but in this case, it kind of just all faded away for nothing. So for Altered Edge, I think the main kind of attempt at making a play here is just literally going to be, let's just completely like finish up whatever job we have and then go for the next step.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a little bit of a level up here, I think. In regards to a lot of things that are going on right now, we saw a lot of drones being used pretty effectively, but we've also seen a lot of drones being cleared. I mean, the roam game here has been really good, but so is the roam management. Obviously, Nomad, I believe, has netted 2 kills with the air jabs here, just in this game alone already. So good utility usage across the board from both teams, and good roams and roam clears. I mean, everything has obviously a positive and a negative, but so far, RDC have found more of those positives, finding themselves that extra round here. Altered Edge started off strong, but they've let 2 slip, and, well, it's going to be another attempt at top floor here to try and claim their second, as RDC are starting to make their way into top red here.
We see not really looking to change anything in their roster, neither does AE. Feels like just a battle between the two teams that are just trying to force their own kind of meta / their own approach. Already the entry of the, what I'm assuming is Iana's hologram. We'll be just finding that, yep, there's the Jaeger. It's not really a whole lot of conclusive data once again, as the rest of Altered Edge just, holding their angles. No roam whatsoever, no second floor presence, no vertical attempt with the C4s. Matter of fact, only Queen AFK has got a C4, and, well, she needs to be that anchor, but how does she manage to run away is just completely beyond me.
I was thinking the same thing. How has she lived in that situation there? Unfortunately, for the Nomad, not quite kill, but here is the burn to come out to try and clear the Pixel shield. I believe the nade actually being grabbed there by the ADS. The Thatcher is going to miss, but that nade's actually going to land, and again, Stormy is going to go down to the exact same nade that Psycho threw in the previous round, the overshot there. I believe the idea is to get the kill, not necessarily take down the shield. So whatever it is working for RDC. Now, Valkyrie in play here, obviously the Z-Pings are going to be providing some good information, and with RDC not really too aware that Valkyrie cameras are watching their every move and calls are now being relayed, this is going to be good for Berry to try and get on this flank up red here.
Absolutely. With nobody watching the actual flank, this could be actually huge here. For Kylix as well, the MX4 Storm could be very deadly in the right hand, so currently curious how will this really work out. Berry needs to hurry up, though, because her team is about to dwindle rather quickly if they don't take any quick measurements.
Obviously, the air jab is going to be the first point of interest here for Berry. She either has to trigger it and go, but she's actually going to be able to shoot it. Now, obviously, one bullet is going to give her position away, but the Capcan trap is going to down Psycho, so a 3v4 on site, make it a 3v3, Spartan to find the entry, Psycho's still down, Queen AFK will make things a little bit easier finding Ash, but Berry's so hesitant to go on the flank, the bomb going down, Spartan might actually be able to get this plant off before dying, indeed, no, it won't go down, and Meeps, she's going to find Queen, but that doesn't matter, the bomb not planted, I believe, point something seconds left, Berry just managing to overcome that fear and make her way into shop to deny that plant. Could have gone very wrong for Altered Edge.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, it is a little bit of a misplay as well on the side of Radical Rebels, who didn't really react or didn't really hear from, after the air jab was shot, so it feels a little bit odd, but possibly it's just maybe the issues with the sound engine, and maybe the actual just singular shot from the Capcan's SMG just got drowned out mid all of the chaos that was happening, plus the comms as well, I would imagine, would be adding quite a level of chaotic nature to it also. Not surprised, look, that things really worked out, but it is a very courageous move by the conclusion of it also. Certainly glad that AE managed to get on board, albeit rather unfortunate for Radical Rebels, the way how it happened. no extra doubling down on the utility. Well, really, it didn't do anything, or rather not even having like a flank drone either, because I do believe that by the time that the actual push was starting to happen for Radical Rebels, they already had one of the people down, so easily one of the persons could have watched the drone, but alas, it is what it is. Still 2-2 scoreline, so plenty of times to really get ahead and get the better of your opponents.
10 seconds left.
I believe that round as well was actually the first time we've actually seen a Capcan trap do anything this game for Berry. So 4 rounds for 1 EDD, possibly 2 if they were stacked on the door, 3, etc., etc. Little bit of diminishing returns there, I think, for AE. But again, comfort pick. You can't really fault it at the end of the day if that is the case. But all the same, it worked out for them. It paid dividends in that round, so you do have to sort of tip your hat there to the Capcan player. But look, it is still early games here. Round number 5, 2-2 each way. Valkyrie on the board again. No addition of IQ to the attacking roster at all. Albeit no nitros being played. So I don't think RDC are that scared of Valkyrie being around due to the fact that she herself even has the impact. So, yeah, look, IQ probably not really needed here. But it's a pretty good setup. They do have a couple roamers upstairs, and it's a pretty solid hold for the top 4 right here for Altered Edge.
I would say something like a bit of a change in the roster to introduce me, and like again, IQ would have actually still helped, because keeping your opponents blind is always a good really idea. Say replace somebody like a Zoff with an IQ with a G8, but still keep the soft breach charges. Could still do a very solid, decent job, albeit you will need to turn out the holy Psycho nearly landing that headshot. But yeah, turning up that aggression a little bit more, just given the fact that it's a one-time scope thing. But regardless, RDC seem to be rather still comfortable, because all the yellow pings are coming about, but it's just more so now a matter of Psycho actually hitting her shots.
Speaking of hitting those shots, Spot will find the opener. Berry is going to go down. So the Capcan off the board. The Capcan trap's taken out. Now, no reinforcement, with 3 left in the pool, by the way, and that is going to cost Killix her life. Queen FK is going to choose to fall down white instead of choosing to stay and fight. No reinforcements at all, actually, back there towards Lounge, which is an interesting choice. Most teams will choose to reinforce that wall. Either way, the vertical now coming out for RDC, still 5 strong in the dying minute of this game. Queen FK playing right below the hatch here, which is open and could go for the Nitro pick here, but he's going to get spotted out by the Zofia on the cross. There's a lot of HP, but ultimately not her life, with only 45 seconds left here.
I feel like if there would have been a little bit more of the C4 utility, it would have been rather big here, and that Altered Edge could have really changed things around, bring out the C4 for Universal, given that I've only seen the Valkyrie actually use the impacts twice, and one was in the much more offensive way, where, say, just thrown out through literally the same position as C4 would have done almost a better job. But regardless of that, the push is about to come in, and the B side is going to be turning into an absolute chaos in a little bit.
Now, flooding into the site here with the wall open, all players are on the other bomb site. This is full control for RDC here as they walk on through. Queen's going to go down to Aussie Ash. The bomb is going to be planted without any retake attempt. Stormy will do a lot of damage to Meeks. Will finally find the kill. The swing into pillars, not going to prove to be fruitful as Mystique is there to find the kill. Flashbangs to come out now. Stormy on low HP in a 1 versus 4. Needs to find all 5 here and the defuse in the next 30 seconds, or else this is going to be a write-off for Altered Edge as she makes her way into fireplace. Will be shot and almost killed, I believe, through the wall there. But he's actually going to get pretty decently down the way through Red Hall. But Spartan is going to be there. The Z-Pings as well, providing the information. Cleaned up relatively well by RDC. And Altered Edge, rather unfortunate.
Yeah, Altered Edge seeming to be a little bit almost confused as to what needs to be done, what is kind of being brought out here by all the setup that is being sorted by RDC, and yeah, look, missing out on keeping any tabs on the reading side felt counterintuitive, I guess, one way to really describe this, because yeah, look, some sort of info gathering utility should have been there, but I suppose didn't happen. So Radical Rebels, actually, we were talking about that the defense will be the very crucial one, and it's the attack that where the kind of the damage control will need to be done. I think for Altered Edge, it's just in general, the damage control needs to be kind of done everywhere and every time, really. Still no changes whatsoever in the lineup, which by this point confuses me is probably the best way to describe this, because it's been very much of a 50-50 turnout for them. And say a introduction of a bit more flexible lineup, say even for this very side, bring in the Castle instead of say an Alibi, bring in at least a C4 for Universal to be able to go for some vertical play, or better yet, bring in a Pulse to be able to counter, say, somebody like a Sledge, or even any of the soft recharges, because I can assure you there was going to be at least some form of vertical contention from the train or the actual mechanical or even the dining part, would have changed already the playfield completely. But at least we see, I guess, Barry off the Capcan to Cade, so bare bones basics covered.
Even the smoke would have been
even the smoke, yeah, or yokai drone.
The M590 for the vertical contention. You know, it's a point and click adventure game. That gun is. It's it does get the job done at range. But Berry, going to let that ace charge go off for the first amount here. Will open up the wall, unfortunately, with that first charge. Couldn't quite get that one off just in time. So Bakery, has lost a little bit of its fortitude. The wall still opened. Possibly going to go for the reinforcement here. Thatcher to burn the ADS, and the shield now cleared as well. So RDC making good waves into Bakery here. Going to be more of a horizontal, it seems, as opposed to a vertical. But Altered Edge have kind of read into this a little bit, and they do have 5 players downstairs on the site, as well as RDC have obviously set up their 5 players relatively close to the bomb site as well. So no roams, no vertical here. It's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out.
Sure, they won't. Main problem being that nobody out of Altered Edge even actually sat around the front of the bakery, so that kind of disposal of the shield felt a little bit almost pointless, but regardless of that, Queen AFK is going to try to go in for a few swings. Obviously, things didn't really work out, and now she's being locked behind that kind of big counter of kitchen cooking in hopes of just attempting to re-swing and kind of find her own position. As it stands, though, RDC, look, lost a little bit of HP, but trading out some HP for a frag onto Queen AFK, the front runner, actually making a double for Spartan, is a good moment.
Definitely not a good moment if you're Altered Edge. However, Stormy trying to equalize a little bit here, but Nomad creeping down the red hall is going to be the one to find that refrag there. Straight back, Spartan for a third to take down Killix as well. It's all up to Universal, the Valkyrie, in a 1 versus 4.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Hope is not running high here for Altered Edge to find this round. However, the impossible can be done when believed in the most. The bomb now going down. Air jab, however, is going to give the position of the Valkyrie away. Is going to swing onto the first. Some damage dealt to Mystique. However, damage taken as well. Calls being given for the prone, but unfortunately, the reaction isn't there from Valk. And that is a 2-kill for the Nomad to finish off that round. And that is a 4-2 split going in. RDC now getting their turn on defense.
Yeah, look, a little bit of a concerning point for Altered Edge, given that we're kind of talking that, you know, they're going to be the ones to go into this, kind of the favorites, but their defense kind of remained to be kind of, think about anything really, because it was very much of a stalemate, really, for their performance and for their picks. Funnily enough, though, they do bring out the Finker, which I'm assuming was, at least to a certain degree, was trained. No Thatcher, so Twitch instead will be that replacement factor. And it kind of calls for a bit of a question whether it's them kind of just trying to stick to the plan, the game plan that they formed with the strats and whatnot, or whether it's going to be more so an idea of just them trying to iron out their comfort pick.
I do think it is genuinely interesting that we have not seen a Flores once in this matchup. Albeit, yes, Mute has been played every round, but with Thatcher up, that shouldn't be a big issue. Albeit, not the end of the world for either of these teams, obviously. Altered Edge on the back foot, 2 rounds down. They have made a little bit of a 6-pick here onto the 0. for the top floor, which I kind of rate, I will be honest. Don't need too much hard breach to clear this side out. Obviously, with the 2 hard breach devices that Universal is bringing along, that is plenty enough to open up the freezer wall and the bathroom wall if required. And that's pretty much all you really need to hard breach for this site. But, oh no, Meeps. Such a good position here for this run out. If she chooses to go for it, is going to get aggressive. Is going to open the door, and the shot onto Universal. That is all the hard breaching capabilities from Altered Edge put on cam.
Crispy performance and pretty much a phenomenal bait and switch, because Universal would have been a phenomenal addition to the utility game of Altered Edge because of just the sheer amounts of the stuff that Zero can bring. The 4 August cams that could be used even just for burning the ADS and the magnets. The, like you highlighted before, the double secondary hard breach. Even the Gon 6, that it would have been a pick for Universal, but she decided to bring in the suppressed 5.7. And on top of it all, the really good primary gun. So overall, a very good mixture. Unfortunately, though, not for this round as well. Unfortunately, relegated back to the spectator screen. Radical Rebels, though, I gotta applaud them. Very good adaptation, despite some initial stiffness on the attack. But defense looks to be a completely different game.
I mean, that peak there from Meeps was, it was textbook. Open the door, walk back, click heads. And you really cannot fault that to any degree. I mean, it's a free kill. And it being the 0, obviously, that's the 6-pick utility pretty much completely negated. And the hard breach charge is gone, and the 0 everything. Really just a good pick for RDC to find, a very bad pick for Altered Edge to lose. So with that, a minute now left in the round, a player down. Altered Edge seems somewhat stunned. Only 1 player in the building and only a minute remaining.
Yeah, so far, good read, good performance so far. Yet another contest, though. This time it's going to be Aussie Ash with the MP5K. The C4 coming about is perfect play. Psycho to find yet another one. It is good. It is clean. Radical Rebels certainly showing that they've put in quite a fair bit of homework, as it's all down to Barry to try to make any sort of play 1v5. And look, I'll be honest, the chances are very, very slim here. And not a whole lot of possibilities to actually open up the scoreline for herself.
I mean, we've seen a rather large amount of 1v5s, 1vxs, and starting things off well. Barry will find the first onto Aussie Ash, who was already low, but with only 20 seconds left, is going to nomad off that red flank, just in case. You never know. Could always be something that could be peaked late. Will retrieve the diffuser. Is going to opt to run into the site. It's going to get stuck in Cigar Shut, though, on all these crossfires. Only 5 seconds. Needs to find 4 kills. She's going to get into the site. Will hit the Legion trap. She's not going to get the chance to get anything done. Will pull the mine out. Isn't going to lose her life, though. So the stats will remain padded, but unfortunately, that is going to be another round for RDC. Altered Edge. Really unfortunate to see that happen to them that early there. I mean, losing that 0 just completely threw them in the blender.
Absolutely, yeah. Radical Rebels just pretty much textbook defense, really. Not doing a whole lot of big aggression apart from Meeps' play, but that was very clinical from her. And from there on out, yeah, they knew that they had the player advantage. They had all the positions locked down. The C4 pre-placed was just absolutely phenomenal. Better yet, pardon me, I actually don't think that was pre-placed. That was just a good throw from behind the bar. No isolation from Altered Edge on the main skylight. Pretty much meant free real estate, really, by the bar, and that was exactly what Radical Rebels used to completely shut down that whatever momentum was remaining after that initial frag onto Universal. And yeah, it's absolute kind of chaos, really, it seems, in the Altered Edge camp, given that they looked rather promising, but maybe it's just not their day today, really, because just so many things went wrong and not a lot of solutions being found for that.
It is rather unfortunate that Altered Edge couldn't really find their footing after that opening pick. Yeah. Given that this is a team that has proven time and time again. I mean, last week, 7-1-ing Triari, who in the first week 7-0'd Volpez, by the way. So that for Altered Edge was huge. And then coming into tonight, I'm not too sure if there is something going on maybe behind the scenes. Maybe they missed the scrim. Maybe they didn't get their warm-up in. Either way, though, well, on top of that, it could just be Radical Rebels are cracked on the sticks. And that definitely does seem that it is a viable choice to make as well. Obviously, Aussie Ash 10 and 3, Spartan with 7, Mystique with 6. I mean, big kills on the board here for RDC. So performance is completely out of the question. Everyone performing in this lobby right now. It's just that RDC possibly reading into things here that maybe Altered Edge weren't expecting them to.
Possibly that could be the case. Interesting, how will this lineup of AE really work? Because this is one of the more drastic changes. We do see the introduction of the Ying. The floor is finally being brought out. Helix just completely gets shut down by Meeps on that crisp swing, and kind of leaves AE once again borderline contemplating life choices at this point, really, with so many things just going wrong for them.
Peak. Oh, that was so quick. Meeps. Clean with it. Good to see Flores being brought here from Berry. He's going to get it in.
But
not deep enough, unfortunately, though.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there for Berry. Hopefully we'll be seeing a little bit more extended play there. But as it stands, look, a half a round already gone. And Altered Edge are yet... Well, they finally are making that entry, but not a whole lot of drone game, not a whole lot of very extended kind of information about where the enemies could be, but at least we are seeing a little bit more grouped up kind of play, so hopes for refrag could be coming in, but even then a C4 from Spartan, could it be absolutely juicy, but not to happen this round.
Nitro there would have been crisp for the defense. Unfortunately, not quite played into by RDC is going to cost them more. But they have some good information here. Obviously, the drone coming forward and players now making their way into the train room is going to be something that RDC are possibly looking to deal with. Obviously, Meeps on these white stairs still holds a pretty pivotal position here for the defense, but Altered Edge, they're setting themselves up to walk on in. As I say that, Mystique is there to greet them. She will take down Stormy and put them in a good position for a 4 versus 3 here, but with only 30 seconds left, Altered Edge going to have to make some decisions. Oh, Psycho.
Altered Edge, Psycho just goes in big there for that frag. Radical Rebels allowing that kind of plan to go down, but with Berry and Queen AFK being the last players remaining, make it just Berry. It could be big, crisp frag, though, for Berry to try to push this to 1v3, but again, could be rather problematic. That position, though, is huge. Another one for the play. Unfortunately, though, not ready for that swing from Aussie Ash to wrap it up and make it the 6th point for Radical Rebels.
Match point for RDC, ladies and gentlemen. A very good attempt from Berry. Got to get down to a 1 versus 2. Could have gone for more, but was caught on the reload, which is rather unfortunate here. But, I mean, match point. RDC looking good to close things out here. Altered Edge would have to win 4 to take us to OT. And given how well RDC are playing at the moment, not looking too good. The spectacle isn't really there for them at the moment, unfortunately, Cthulhu. I mean, Altered Edge are doing so well. They'll get a pick, but then they just lose 2, and then they kind of just get stuck, and it's either their hard breacher that goes or their flank watch that goes. It is always someone important, which is super unfortunate for them. I do genuinely feel a little bit bad, but RDC, I mean, it is clinical. It is surgical. Knocking out these players early on. Really good refrags. I mean, the utility, we see the Malusi being bought here. Paired with the Legion as well is even something better. But, I mean, right now, they are in very good form to take this 7-2.
7-2 could be a very good time, really, for Radical Rebels to really push themselves in a very decisive way. I mean, looking at the standings as well, RDC, within the whole tiebreaker, they're currently at the very bottom of it, so a 3-pointer is going to be extremely needed, really, to push themselves to that top 3 positions currently, with Big Brain Esports and Warriors still yet to conclude their matchups, but I'm sure that we shall be seeing that update later down the line. But look, yeah, RDC, very deserved win so far. They've been managing to read it rather well, albeit, once again, like I said, a bit of a rusty beginning to the whole overall matchup, but being able to get a very thorough read and be able to execute accordingly, whilst also still keeping up a really good pacing, especially on the defense. I have to commend that. They managed to really show us that they came in quite prepared. They've tried their best to obviously, show some more improvements, and given the fact that they managed to 7-0 Volpes before, look, overall, well played. That's all I have to say for now, at least. I mean, week 1, we saw RDC take quite a unfortunate loss there to Warriors. But again, against Warriors, that's one of the biggest hurdles in the whole season. So getting that out of the way in the week 1, I'd say that's a big advantage.
Yeah, especially with Warriors being undefeated in 2 seasons currently in a row, with being the champions of the previous season. So the Warriors are definitely upholding appearances here for the second season that they have been a roster in the league, but all the same, the focus is AE versus RDC right now, and with a minute and a half remaining, top floor now starting to be contested, are going to spot out this roamer upstairs. Aussie Ash now forced off, with the Flores drones being used on the top floor to drone here, as opposed to a live drone, and push is an interesting choice for Altered Edge, but the utility is being used, the Retiro here, forcing that roamer back towards white, possibly for the crossfire, but is going to opt for the vault. Queen FK not quite ready to pick that one up, and now falling back to the secondary position, Malusi is just going to wait for any kills to come in her direction.
Only a minute remaining. Some sort of action needs to start because AE are on the last hurdle. They on the last possible round and last possible chance really to get themselves back on board. Because so far RDC has been rather clinical, but I say that Mips did take just before quite a chunky amount of damage. How does that even being connected though? What?
That's literally a pixel. That's the second shot that Meeps has hit on a player, ultimately not killing, but still doing a considerable amount of damage. They will lose one player here, RDC, on the return back to the bomb site. But look at the time, Cthulhu, 30 seconds. And Altered Edge are yet to grace the first floor with their presence. As I say this, Queen AFK spearheading the charge. Look at them all grouped up inside of reading and red. No, sorry, bottom white. They've all made it down. It's going to be a flood onto the site here. In the final 15 seconds, it's going to all go down in the red hall, but this swing from Meeps could be huge. 2 kills to open things up. Meeps swinging on. Will find the first. Not going to get the second. However, cleanup going on elsewhere. Mystique for 2. Universal will find 1, but Meeps there. Swing down from red. RDC, they're going to close things out 7-2, and in quite amazing fashion, defeat Altered Edge.
What do you see? Look, 7-2 scoreline in such a way definitely has me quite surprised, and I'm glad that I've been proven wrong on that kind of initial statement, thinking that AE would be the favorites. Look, I suppose less pressure on RDC, and there we go. There's already all of the success coming about. Aussie Ash on 11 frags as well, a testament that Radical Rebels could be potentially the big runner-up team for that top 3, and possibly going into further down the line into the playoffs. Could be very, very strong.
Yeah, I mean, that game from RDC started off a little bit shaky. I mean, AE to take that first round really convincingly, and then RDC just put the shoes on, and they started taking these rounds, taking the control, opening picks. I mean, it was clinical dismantling of AE, which I mean, it summed up pretty well there, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it started off so well, and then it unfortunately went downhill for them. I mean, 7-2 RDC, 11 kills on the board for Aussie Ash. I mean, Meeps may have only had 7, but I mean, the kills that Meeps found, 2 on the flank there for the final, the spawn peak first round of defense. I mean, you really cannot fault RDC there. A huge showing from them, and a really, really impressive game on Cafe. They have everything to be proud of right now, especially going into their following matchups.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, I was initially a doubter. I'll admit to that. And the way how RDC before, look, it was kind of a similar storyline where they would just get so close to, say, winning a couple rounds or winning a matchup, but unfortunately previous seasons didn't really go too well for them. Going into this one, look, already by the conclusion of week 3 on a 6-pointer, minus their loss to Warriors, which is, I mean, at this point it's rather difficult to really do anything against Warriors as it stands. I gotta commend them. That was really well played, well done, and look, all the best wishes to them in improving further their game, because from here on out it's it's all the way up. Whereas for Altered Edge, look, I mean, maybe some sort of a kind of communication issue was today, maybe some sort of technical issue, who knows, but certainly something did definitely go wrong there, and one would hope that comes week 4 they would be able to fix up all of the internal issues.
Yeah, look, whatever went wrong, albeit the game was won, RDC heads held high, and they're going to pick themselves up 3 tasty points for this evening's matchup. In style, I think, is something we can safely say for this evening. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to cut to a short break before match number 2. Don't go anywhere, because after the break, it will be Big Brains in their next matchup, which Cthulhu has already highlighted. So we will jump into that after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly.
Those two.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. Everybody talk. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.
Lady,
watch me now.
To the ads. I'm not sure if the mics are live, but we're nonetheless on the back on the desk. Cthulhu, game 1, 7-2 to RDC. A huge way to kick us off here this evening.
Yeah, look, RDC managed to keep themselves really, really well, very, very well composed as well on Cafe Dostoevsky, which worked out extremely well after a little bit of an initial hiccup where AE were able to yoink away quite a couple points. Apart from that, it was a very, very dominating turnout for RDC that did propel them to the top 3 position, finally exiting them out of the whole tiebreaker. But now it's upon yet another matchup, which will be deciding the top 3 positions as well.
Yes, match number 2 to come shortly. A little bit of an update for you, though. 7-0s across the board off stream. Warriors 7-0ing Benchwarmers, and Vertex 7-0ing Volpes. Interesting. Interesting to say. Well, actually, okay, I take that back. Warriors expect, but the Vertex Volpes game, I expected a little bit more, but not so, no, honestly, we take those. Vertex, very well done, 7-0. You take those. But our match 2 for the evening, Cthulhu, Big Brain Esports versus Triari. 2 new names for this season of Women's League. What are we thinking? Let's have a look at roster number 1 for, well, one of these 2 teams.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, Big Brain versus Triari is definitely going to be an interesting one, because so far Big Brain Esports are currently sitting on the 6-pointer on the 2nd place, which shown themselves really, really good. I mean, Yoshi, Burnabear, Chloe, Cheesebender, Fish Noodle, all the names that are coming back into this roster with Nowick and Repel being the subs. They are borderline now veterans of the scene, and already seen plenty of action, plenty of the different meta changes, so they should be pretty much well acquainted with what needs to be done, what kind of changes need to be sold, so they should be one of those very flexible rosters. But I say that, we've said the similar thing about Altered Edge, and look what really happened. So going into this one, look, I'm going to keep it above 50. I'm going to be keeping it neutral for the time being. But Big Brain Esports certainly did show us some very dominating scorelines previously, so take it as you want it.
Yeah, given that they are 2nd seed as well, going up against tied 4th, and our 2nd roster for this evening, Triari, coming in on the other side of the card. A new name for the XP Women's League, but one that should be feared. A 7-0 in their first week is definitely nothing to be shy of. Toad, Amber, Queen, Alex, Ticked Off, and Ice with subs, McGuppins. This roster has proven that they can do some work. Obviously, they have also proven that they are, like all of us, normal, and can take losses as well, with the 7-1, unfortunately, to Altered Edge last week. But again, as mentioned before at the start of the broadcast, they did not have their core 5. They had the sub in instead to play. So that could have been a bit of an issue. Hopefully, they are in main core 5 tonight for this matchup, because they are definitely going to need it going up against Big Brain Esports.
Absolutely, yeah. They will need to certainly have their A game up and ready to go, because otherwise, look, they are the ones sitting on the 3-pointer at the moment. It's up to them to actually full send it and propel themselves out of this tiebreaker that has been generated, albeit now thinned out. So overall, look, I certainly want to see what will really happen, because theoretically for Big Brain Esports they have that buffer. They don't really have to really stress too much, because even with the way how the current standings do work, they still have the round differential. So even with Vertex and Radical just currently scoring the 3-pointer and pushing themselves onto the 6-pointer, round differential still wins them for that. So nothing too unfortunate or uncomfortable there. But even just an overtime, so a 2-pointer will really do the job. But obviously, Big Brain Esports would want to get the majority of the points. It is, though, all the pressure is on Triari here to propel themselves on the leaderboard, because as it stands, I believe they are still sitting around that 5th/4th position.
Tied fourth, I believe, is where they are currently. So, Triari girls have everything to lose here tonight. Speaking of the match, where are we off to for game number 2? Ladies and gentlemen, the veto shortly to be on your screen. Here we are, and we are off to Bank, interestingly enough. Not one of the maps I do believe we have seen on the mainstream so far for Women's League 1, 2, and 3. But Cthulhu Bank, for both of these teams here, with the last ban going to Big Brain, so they opted to leave Bank up over Theme here. Thoughts and predictions.
Well, Bank is one of those maps that hasn't yet really fully solidified itself in the current kind of NZ meta. We haven't really seen a whole lot of frequent picks within neither OCN nor OCL. It's kind of one of those off picks that could be kind of one of those niche map mains, really. Say something like, say, an OCN Chiefs did manage to show us quite a fair few times a really strong Bank. In OCL, there was the whole storyline of how Big Dogs back in Season 3 of 2021 managed to beat Fury, which were the big top runner team. So it's one of those maps where almost you could kind of qualify it for the maps where the good teams fall kind of deal, where it's so niche, they have to very thoroughly practice it. Otherwise, you're kind of left with very kind of almost face check each and every corner kind of vibe, and you would obviously want to avoid it to the absolute fullest. So going into this, look, I think whichever team managed to practice it the most will be the one to come out the victor. I would probably still lean more towards Big Brain Esports, given the fact that kind of it was up to them to ban either Theme or Bank. So Bank seems more like I suppose, like a comfort ground.
Yeah, obviously something that they are happy to play, given that they left it in over Theme. I mean, obviously with Theme recently coming back in after its short stint away from the competitive map pool, it's definitely a shame to not see it played. I believe we've only seen it played once in Upward 3 competition. So, and I believe that was actually in Tier 1. But all the same, it has only really seen a very minimalistic amount of play, at least in official competitive leagues. Whether or not it is scrimmed is a completely different question, but yeah, it was close. It was one map away. Unfortunately, we don't get to see it tonight. But Bank is something that is rather interesting. It's a rather big map, so we do have to have obviously the attacking side, whether it is going to be BB or Triari here to kick it off. They're going to have their own management down. Jackal most likely going to be banned here for Bank. He usually is. A character that brings so much to the board. I mean, the shotgun for the vertical and rotates. He's got the tracking Inox, his gun, laser beam, can't really go wrong. I mean, especially on Bank as well. He is absolutely formidable. And if he is left up, the team starting on defense is going to have, I'd imagine, a pretty rough time. But look, it is going to come down to, I think, the strategy here, Cthulhu. The roam clear is going to be a big thing for both attacking teams in both splits. It is going to be a pretty large focus, because if defended correctly, Bank can definitely be attack, I think, especially if you are starting off on that attack for the first 6 rounds.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, I mean, it is going to be Big Brain Esports to actually kick things off on the attack for this map, with Triari to actually kick things off on the defense. So, yeah, I would certainly say that for Triari would be a favorable first half. Defense could certainly be rather successful if, as you said, approached the right way. Honestly, yeah, in regards to bans, Jackal, I would be very much surprised if Thatcher once again will be left out, but something across the lines of maybe, hell, even like a Nomad ban would be somewhat understandable given the sheer amount of flank watch you do need to set up before each and one of your pushes. But again, yeah, something like a Thatcher, maybe a Flores to be banned out would be quite necessary on the side of defense. Maybe a Valkyrie Mira, look, wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. Maybe even a Melusi. Actually, we did see a couple of the Melusi bans to occur, which does put her into a very interesting position where she kind of got nerfed, where like her gadget opens up way quicker and you can really shoot it out. But in the same kind of vein, if you position it in the right way and then cause chaos around it, it would be rather problematic to get rid of it amongst all the bullets flying past you. So overall, look, I'm keen to see what will be the actual outcome of it all, because theoretically both teams have the potential, but again, I would say that the mental management is going to be the one that is going to be the most important.
Yeah, maps like Bank are definitely ones that mental is going to come into it. But we have just got confirmation that the teams are ready, ladies and gentlemen. So let's have a quick little look at Bank a little bit more in depth. A map that doesn't necessarily see much play here in the XPE Women's League, but we're going to get a little bit of a taste right now. Big Brain Esports going up against Triari. I mean, it is going to be a bit of a banger here, I reckon. Obviously, Big Brain second seed going up against tied fourth. Triari have everything to lose, but everything to gain here, Cthulhu. Final thoughts before we kick things off.
Honestly, going into this, Big Brain Esports might have the upper hand, at least given their previous stats. Triari, though, they did show previously that they can really bring some element of surprise, so wouldn't be too surprised if they will be the ones to actually get the initial upper hand above all the other opponents. So keen to see how it all goes. And look, Triari for the defense. Let's kick it off.
Getting things underway. As always with the bans, first to come out here, is it going to be Finka? Not Thatcher,
okay.
Not Jackal. It's going to be Finka, so interesting. But yeah, look, LMG Crutch meta is pretty big right now, especially with those nano boosts and Finka's recent buff. Nades as well, gone 6 in the pocket. She is very strong, and obviously her being banned is no real surprise. Thatcher to follow. Obviously, probably more of a staple ban to come after that first one, but the defense side of the bans, I mean, you pretty much said it. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be Miracade / Mirror Valk, but I mean, anything's available at this point. There's the Valk, so
there's the Valk.
Mirror to follow.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is up to Triari to introduce any sort of a upset. They already banned Finka, which is quite a meta operator nowadays, given her boosts, her weaponry, the frag grenades, pretty much everything about her kit makes it very, very powerful. And there we go. Well, the defensive Spaniard is going to be pretty much benched yet again. Look, relatively expected minus the Finka, but in that sort of vein, it is an understandable ban given the sort of circumstances. For Big Brain, they do strike me as a team that would possibly use Finka on the offense, so in saying that, some sort of adjustments will need to be made, but so far the initial pick signal for a very tame lineup of the operators. I mean, double hard breach, two soft breaches, and that, I suppose, the info gatherer in form of Iana. Not too shabby of a lineup, plus you get 3 sets of frag grenades.
Yeah, it's a good lineup here from Big Brain. No Jackal, interestingly enough, even though he is on the board, especially with what seems to be a pretty roam-oriented hold here with the Oryx in play for Amber there on Triari. Obviously, Oryx has such a high mobility, is relatively difficult to sort of corner in one place if there is a hatch nearby. So Big Brain going to have to be managing that here. Possibly still yet to 6-pick off onto a Jackal / Nomad / maybe even a Gridlock. But either way, a pretty good setup. Starting things off for the top floor here, not opting to open up that main wall as some teams like to. But other than that, I mean, double grenade denial, obviously they're expecting a lot of nades to be bought here, and a lot of nades indeed are. But the 6-pick is there. Maverick off from Chloe. Instead is going to be bringing the Flores, who we didn't really get to see too much impact from on Cafe. So hopefully, Bank is a bit of a different story for him. But good good lineups from both teams. Top floor, can like a good start here for Triari.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, Triari could definitely deal quite a lot of damage here, but in the same vein, Big Brain, that we didn't really get to touch up a whole lot on the whole idea of attacker repair, given that it's just a freshly introduced kind of function into the game. And yeah, they've used it very thoroughly. What initially looked like a very stale, very kind of tame lineup finally does see some spice in its own self, with Yoshi bringing out the Dokkaebi, who would help with the whole roam clear, but I say that Fish Noodle doesn't even need any of that, doesn't need the calls, just line up the frag and get the dub by the conclusion of it all. But Flores could certainly change things around rather thoroughly.
Yeah, Flores is going to be huge here if used correctly by Big Brain. Now, try to lose the first pick, albeit only going to be the Thunderbird. So at most, the Nitro is the only thing really taken off the board here for the defense, which isn't the biggest of losses to start things off. However, Ticktoff, given her prominence on those supporting characters, is going to be a bit of a loss here for the defense. All the same, Big Brain capitalizing on that frag, they're going to be droning up the main lobby, and they're going to be able to dictate that most of that is clear. Now, if Burner Bear is going to do what Burner Bear usually does, she's going to take all of that control and essentially use it to exploit everybody on side of sight. Here we go. We're already seeing it happen. Toad is going to fall as well here now from the main window. Repels, however, called out on that push. Burner Bear taken down by the Roma, finished off with the Keratos. And that is going to be that kill on the board. Burner Bear now down. Only a minute left, but a 4 versus 3 for Big Brain.
The problem, though, here for Big Brain is the fact that there's no more of that extra push from the other side. There's no extra pressure to separate the Triari defense, which would be rather problematic. I say that, though, doesn't really matter, it seems, as Amber does go down. Queen Alex has fallen. It's all up to Ice, who so far didn't really have a whole lot of say in denying any sort of push. Very much cornered, and, well, in comes the call and the death. Oh my god. Holy crap.
Oh, very well done. Clinical from Big Brain. Only one player lost there in the of things, and that is a good way to start off Bank. But I mean, this is what we talked about. Obviously, locking down the attack and making sure that you can get these opening picks. Yes, Burner Bear was lost on the other side of the map, and unfortunately, that was a lot of your pinch pressure removed. But that didn't seem to matter. I mean, we found a pretty good amount of kills on side of sight for Big Brain. And I mean, other than that, it was pretty much just clinical execution. Triari lost two on the opener, I believe, before they actually found the refrag. Possibly 1-for-1. I may be wrong. It was such a blast. But I mean, still very well done for the attacking side. Still having 4 alive on a Bank end round is really huge for executes, especially on the top floor. I was expecting a little bit more in terms of maybe main window peaks, running out in the main lobby, a bit of an extension towards Kanto maybe, but there wasn't really much there from Triari. A lot of focus on the backside of the site, which could have cost them. They did find the flank on the Yana coming through main, which did net them that 1 kill, but obviously having that player offsite focusing on that one-on-one, site was ultimately forfeit, and the round very soon to follow. And unfortunately, we have had the disconnect, so we are going to be waiting for the reconnect there for one of the Triari members. But I mean, that was a really solid way to start that off with Big Brain, and they didn't even need to bring that Jackal.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, it definitely shows with the way how Triari really set things up. It was a little bit more of almost like a ranked approach to the way how they held. Not a whole lot of expansion. A good point as well that you made that, yeah, look, not a whole lot of play around the main front lobby, which could have been used as a denial for that repel, because obviously they would have had the information that there's a Dokkaebi continuously repelling on the site windows. And the site windows are a very crucial point of contention as well. That does open up quite a fair bit of crossfire potential. So it feels, yeah, a little bit of maybe just the first round jitters kind of deal, or maybe those could be the initial signs that it was Big Brain Esports that were just very happy to go into Bank. This is a map that they possibly practiced a little bit more than Triari, and further down the line we could be seeing a little bit more of the problematic issues start popping up for Triari. But in the same vein, look, at least we haven't really seen a complete flawless round, and Amber was able to get rid of the flank. So so far, nothing too 100% conclusive, I suppose, at least off the back of the first round. But regardless, yeah, look, it did get deconstructed rather quickly. I'll definitely have to say that, and something to maybe look into, maybe an introduction of something like Arcade, or maybe just a bit more thorough play towards that breach denial, because having that breach open and having that crossfire kind of just worked out far too well, really, for the attack of Big Brain Esports.
Yeah, I mean, with the Dokkaebi on the main windows, they had a player deep in Janitor. The window opened up. I mean, Dokkaebi found 3 from the main windows, which 2 or 3, and at least more than 1 is definitely more than enough from that main window position. I mean, Big Brain living up to the name. They just had those crossfires. They got that. Well, they were going to get that bomb down. They didn't really get time because the last player was already dead before they got the chance. But I mean, in theory, faulted. It was there. The execute was flawless. Only losing one player on that flank, and let's be honest, having that one player off by themselves to sort of create that distraction. Yes, they may die, but that didn't really affect the main push at all. They had all their bases covered. They got in. They got their frags. Everything was good at the end of the day. So we are just waiting for the reconnect, ladies and gentlemen, and then we can get straight back into the action. But I definitely do agree with you a little bit, Cthulhu. I definitely think first round jitters are possibly something that has possibly caused an issue for Chiari. Obviously, this being their first week back in terms of an official match as a 5 roster. But it's obviously something that is going to be, it's going to come down to longevity of it. Bank can go on for a lot of rounds, especially if it gets to OT, because it definitely can end like that. Defense, you can get 6, or attack can get 6, and then vice versa. It's a map that definitely offers an interesting play style when played, when 2 big teams come up against each other. And I think that's what we have on our hands here tonight. It's going to be Triari trying to get that spot and prove themselves, but Big Brain holding on to their second. It is going to be a pretty big slugfest once we get the Triari player back in the lobby. So, but yeah, I mean, Bank is an interesting beast. It is definitely cool, man.
One thing I do want to as well mention, going into what was the first round for Big Brain Esports, Bernabé being spotted on the Iana, whilst it's not as much of a change from her usual role, because usually, at least in the previous seasons, we did get to see her play something like more frequently like an Ashe or something like a Sledge. It was kind of cool to see that she kind of still sticking around to that very much of a fragging kind of role, I suppose, in form of Iana, but still introducing a whole lot more utility to the play with those drones. So she's a very much of a self-sufficient kind of unit, while still having a phenomenal gun plus the frag grenades, albeit obviously in that gunfight against Amber, things really didn't go well, but regardless of it all, still a very able operator, and better yet, in the current meta, I would say a much better choice than the Ashe as well.
Yeah, Ashe has really, unfortunately, sort of been
fallen off,
pounded into the ground with the nurse. A little bit of a BB situation going on. I mean, she only has 2 Ashe charges now instead of 3. The R4C is not great. And then, obviously, the fact that she kind of just doesn't have as much impact as she used to, with all the other amounts of utility that can be brought over just an R4C and some breaching rounds. I mean, you've got Finker, you've got Jackal, you've got, as you mentioned, Yana, obviously a good replacement. Even Buck. I mean, I know Buck doesn't necessarily have the R4C, but he does have the soft breaching capability and flashbangs. That's another thing. Ashe lost flashbangs as well. So
true.
She has taken quite a big hit, and that is where operators like Yana will start to take that position, and they will start damage. So either way, it is interesting to see that the Finker was banned, especially over operators like Yana. I mean, yes, Finker is very in meta right now, but so is Yana. Yana is, I would arguably say, one of the more, since her release, has become one of the more pivotal characters for a lineup. I mean, she has replaced of that entry fragging role. The ARX, a laser beam with a 1.5 as well on attack, 2 grenades and a Gon 6, as well as a recharging drone that has multiple uses, well, infinite amount of uses within a round. she does have the full kit. She really does. And it's good to see her being utilised here, hopefully by both teams. I do believe we've seen Triari play her a few times, so I'd imagine she will make the return. Speaking of return, we are still waiting for that Triari player to come back into the lobby. Unfortunately, I'm not too sure. Pretty hectic game crash / internet dropout. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, you get these, you know, the odd jobs. But we are still we're just holding in. We're waiting for that reconnect.
I mean, it does give us a little bit more time to, you know, theory craft as well with what could be done, what could be organized, because obviously, well, for Triari, their whole side defense fell apart rather rapidly. So say we see a repick of the site. Could we possibly see a very same setup that Triari will bring in? Or maybe, for example, TikTok will go back to the much more now preferred or much more frequently main smoke, and say we could be seeing some changes to maybe some ROM game. Maybe Amber will be playing a bit more extended game with some sort of a backup from, God, I mean, probably would be Alibi the next best pick, and say chuck Alibi holograms right next to the side windows. So a few setups could be done, but again, this will very much depend on what is the read from Trier, what kind of I suppose lessons will be taken away from that first round in this time whilst they're trying to sort something out. If not really, well, for Big Brain Esport, they'll just need to do literally the same thing, and because nothing else really went wrong there, apart from the fact that Bernabé did go down, but it just didn't end up giving ample time for all the push.
Yeah, it did sort of in the last few seconds there, but it worked out. Big Brain definitely can't complain. They got round number 1 on the board. Something I do want to highlight as well is we have, speaking of smoke, we have arguably 2 of the best smoke players in the Women's League. We have Chloe and TikTok in the lobby tonight. So I'm praying for some SMG gaming, but you know, we are yet to see any of that play just yet. But speaking of play, we are still waiting for that player to come back, and we are going to take a very short break due to the extended rehost. So don't go anywhere. We will be back hopefully momentarily, and we will continue when we get back into things. So yeah, we'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I believe the mics are live, breaking on in here after the rehost. Unfortunately, due to the time limit running out, Triari not going to be able to get their 5th player back in, and it is also unfortunately spelt wrong, which is a bit of a shame. 1 extra I there. That's what happens, unfortunately, when Nuttery gets to put the names in, but we love him all the same. Cthulhu, we're back. 4v5 now. Things have just gotten exponentially harder for Triari here, because Big Brain now not only have the player advantage, but also obviously taking round 1 with such storm. You would now sort of tend to think, with that player gone already, things have gotten a lot harder.
Yeah, look, things are certainly looking rather frustrating for Triari, really, with the whole setup. And look at the lineup that they are bringing in for their defense. It's a very heavy lean towards the just them trying to play it out as aggressive as possible, comparative to what we've seen before. Very passive setup. This time, the Vigil, the Thorn, even the Thunderbird that could be played on a roll, and given the sheer loadout does allow that very play. Seems like this is going to be kind of the setup, with Ice being kind of the only actual dedicated anchor on the side. I am though curious how will this really play out, given the fact that already the call out on the position of the Thunderbird has been already revealed. So BB are looking to possibly even attempt to try to speedrun this.
Yeah, look, something that is going to obviously have to be maintained here by Big Brain is how thorough they were in the first round. Obviously, yes, having that player advantage already is a big thing, but if they start playing too aggressive with that advantage, things are going to go awry for them very quickly. hoping that that doesn't happen for them, obviously, given that their first round was so good. But Bernabear is doing her very same antics that she was in the first round, and she's going to be doing her own thing over towards the main lobby with Chloe and the rest of Big Brain getting that wall open and obviously some control into stock, etc. But with Triari now a little bit focused on that main lobby, things for Big Brain could be getting relatively easy. Bernabear not quite dead just yet. The Nitro to follow. Unfortunately, not deep enough. We'll get the drone, but this is a lot of utility and time being dumped onto trying to take down Bernabear.
Yeah, a lot of dedication, a lot of position has been revealed. Very wide swing, as I might add, from TikTok, who tries to get some sort of a swing going, some sort of an advantage. But as it stands, a lot of damage being dealt to BB, but unfortunately no frag as it is. So maybe further down the line, when it actually comes down to the actual explosion onto the site, things might be looking a little bit better for Triari.
Drones to come out. Zed pings as well to follow the bomb retrieved by Cheese. Amber's going to go for the run out, but however, Yoshi is there to collect. TikTok will find one on the Fishnood. However, with now TikTok taking a lot of damage off screen, going to actually make her way all the way up to the hallway here. Going to peek round onto Cheese. No cover there. She's going to get that kill and actually dip back into Janitor. The wall is open though, so Big Brain do have the ability to make this work. However, a lot of damage dealt. Yoshi will finally take down TikTok, or at least what was left. They're going to go for the entry onto site. Chloe with a very sharp shot on the ice needs to find Queen Alex. Can't quite find that headshot. Now left in a 1 versus 2. Two very low players. Definitely the ability to find both of these kills with the sidearm in hand, but it's going to have to be the crossfire here, and indeed it will. Bernabear on the late flank up main is going to clean things up over by Trump Office, and that was pretty close for Triari, but Big Brain still prevailed.
And here comes the whole, the player numbers advantage that really kicks in there, because if Triari had yet another player to play around that position, they would have been a completely different outcome. Unfortunately, though, time is not didn't really work out for them. We really couldn't get the fifth player in, I believe. Look, it is what it is, though. Big Brain, though, look, a little bit nearly dropped the bag there, not gonna lie. Comparative to the round one that was looking rather decisive, quite a few cracks started to form there, because no cover from Chloe, or rather, she didn't make it there in time, meant that Cheese got fragged out, and from there on, it just looked, rather difficult to get a strong kind of read as to what is happening with Big Brain Esports. But regardless, though, managing to get that dub does solidify a 2-point lead now over Triari, which now forces them to go downstairs. They fully realize that, well, maybe top floor is no longer really an option, given the kind of intrinsic state of the whole things. And in a 4v5 continuously, well, a bit more of a turtle-like setup, maybe a bit more of a better choice, with TikTok already bringing back the ye old-fashioned smoke.
Aforementioned smoke. Hopefully it's enough to get some rounds on the board for Triari here on the defense side. I mean, it is going to be a big hope for them, obviously losing that player now. But as you mentioned, Big Brain, a little bit of a stumble, if we are completely honest. Now, something that I would like to highlight here, Bernabear switching off of that Yana as opposed to the Knock, who is going to be making her way, I believe, either into the garage, into the downstairs loan office here on that solo roam. Now, having Bernabear on this lurk, obviously very capable fragger. We've seen her play these positions before. It's going to be big for them here, but we do have, I believe, possibly one roamer on the board for Triari. Not too sure there on how that sort of went through the wall. I could be very wrong. And in fact, I think I might be. But, I mean, Big Brain having all of this control upstairs with, there we go, all 4 players of Triari on site. 1 minute in, hatch is already starting to be opened up. Things are starting to pan out pretty well for the attack here.
Absolutely, yeah. Big Brain setting themselves up rather well, albeit not a whole lot of blue stairs contention, which feels rather awkward. Could be a sign for possible later down the line issues. Funnily enough, no congestion either on the servers, so that's basically free real estate to be taken by Big Brain. But it seems like they are poised to go for maybe a little bit more so of the main stairs kind of congestion plus the hatches, but with half a round to go, still quite some time to get those openings going, get those positions sorted, and as the drone will be confirming, well, server will be taken rather convincingly. I say that ticked off already in that gunfight, I'm assuming against Bernabear, and that is problematic, not being able to take those long-range gunfights that convincingly. Oh, okay, never mind.
Why'd you say that?
Never
Ticked
mind.
off. The SMG-11 finds the head of Bernabear from long range. Ice to add one as well on the Chloe and Triari very quickly. Make it a 4 versus 3. However, Yoshi is there to find the refrag. Ice goes down. With ticked off on low HP as well, this is definitely a good position for Big Brain to find themselves in, albeit 3 versus 3 from a 5 versus 4 is very commendable for Triari here. Obviously, 40 seconds left. The bomb yet to go down. Cheese on the rotate now to get that bomb over towards server with Yoshi on the cover from upstairs. This plant is going to be relatively easy with only one smoke left for Ticked-Off to utilize here. Looking for some more heads with that SMG-11, but 20 seconds. They're going to have to opt for the plant or the kills. The kills are definitely a viable option, but the util now starting to come out. Flashbangs to follow. The smoke, final smoke to come out here, and it isn't going to be stopping that plant. Jesus is going to be able to stick this here relatively easily. The impacts, though, take down Fish Noodle. Yoshi's there from the hatch to cover the plant, and the bomb now goes down with both of the Triari members on 1 HP. Yoshi from the hatch again to take down Ticked-Off for her triple, but Queen Alex downs a player on site. With 30 seconds left, it's a 1v1.
1v1 indeed. Yoshi has still the upper hand on the hatch. The finisher does come around for only one, but Yoshi does have things on the lockdown. Whilst there was a little bit of a scrappy round for Big Brain Esports with the way how things were looking, it still managed to work out rather well. So, 4th round upon us, 3-0 on the board. There are signs of life from Triari, despite the player numbers disadvantage. For Big Brain, though, look, slight concern starting to creep in, because compare round 3 to round 1, completely different outcomes, which signs for maybe some problematic approach, maybe them just trying to experiment or toy around with different setups. I mean, you've highlighted perfectly, yeah, Bernabear bringing out the knock changes things up a little bit, and she no more kind of plays that front runner role, but instead it's a bit more kind of a flank player, a bit more of that kind of a thorn in the side. But in saying that, look, one single headshot pretty much changed the whole difference, and no more contention in the garage. That was, by the way, that was a phenomenal shot from Ticked-Off. I have to say that. That was clean.
That was threading the needle, if ever I've seen it. I mean, especially losing that fight as a FMG 9 1.5 enjoyer, Bernabear arguably should have won that, especially with Ticked-Off being on 1 HP as well. So you do have to commend her efforts with that shot. I mean, it just further highlights the whole Ticked-Off and Chloe being 2 of the best smokes in the Women's League. And there you go. I mean, I stand corrected and humbled at the same time, wishing I could spray the same. But this Roma is going to be called out, I'd imagine, relatively soon. Amber actually getting the hatches pretty late here for Triari as the drones now start to flood in, and she will be spotted inside of the small office, which is going to lead Yoshi onto this opening conflict here. Isn't going to find the opening kill straight away, but finally will take down Amber, and now a 3 versus 5. This is more what you would be wanting to see from Big Brain with this player advantage. Obviously now in a 5v3, Triari down 2. This is more of what we were expecting in the previous 2 rounds, I think, Cthulhu.
Yeah, look, definitely with the way how Big Brain managed to perform previously, that's probably what we were initially expecting before, but now Ticked-Off has a very favorable position for herself, because the shotgun of Smoke has a really solid amount of damage and range, so a quick swing could be doing all the needed damage, but I say that a very unfortunate read, or misread by Ticked-Off, results in her ultimate demise, which does leave all down to Ice and Queen Alex to do the play, but interesting decision by Ice to try to just hold that position. C4, surely this works.
From prone.
I mean, it should have the distance. In comes.
Yeah, plenty. And there you go. No doubt. Chloe goes down on the hatch on the Maverick. Lovely little nitro there for Triari. Queen Alex takes a little bit of damage. I mean, that's commendable. I like. I commend the stick there, proning in the middle of the site. But here's Bernabear from Garage cleaning up the rotate kill on Queen Alex, leaving Ice in a 1 versus 4, and Bernabear for the second
gig.
That is more I think, what we were expecting from Big Brain, given the current standings with the players' numbers across both of these teams. But, I mean, I think a little bit of the issue there for Triari as well is due to that player disadvantage. Amber was late on those hatch reinforcements, which then sort of caught her with her pants down inside her open. Yoshi was there for the frag, and then it kind of all just went downhill from there, really, for them, unfortunately.
Well, with all this said, though, 4th point for Big Brain does kind of sort of signal for what we could be possibly seeing here for the remainder of the matchup, at least for the remainder of this half. Is just unfortunate turnout that kind of results in just unfortunate disadvantage for Triari that they would have wanted to obviously have redeemed, and it's rather unfortunate for them, but it is what it is. And 4-0 being, look, one would hope that comes week 4, maybe Triari will be able to bounce back, but in now having yet another loss in week 3 does set themselves back rather thoroughly, because I believe, let me have a quick peek back again on week 2 standings. I believe, no, they would still get a chance. They would still get a chance to get themselves into the playoffs bracket, so it's not yet as tragic as it may sound, but staying on 3-pointer, look, you probably would want to just keep yourself out of that kind of outing from the playoff bracket as much as possible, given the fact that, well, for Triari, they showed initial promise very thoroughly in week number 1, but apart from that, it's just kind of been a bit of a downfall for them.
It's been a bit of a shame that they haven't really got to play with their core 5 yet. It's for a whole match, should we say. They got a little bit of a taste, but unfortunately not the full experience. However, Chloe doing things off screen, finding that opener. Fishnoodle will find a second on the ice. Bit of a question mark there from Amber, but albeit no repel. Maybe the sound issue there. Unfortunately, Chloe might be caught typing here. Surely not. Oh, she is. That's a shame. TikTok's going to take that very quickly. Refragged by Yoshi, though, leaving Queen Alex in a 1 versus 4. And, I mean, what, with only a minute being played this round, Queen Alex, I'd imagine she is not long for this work. And now that the brain know her, I mean, yeah, the bomb's going down. A 1v4 retake here. It's not too promising right now, unfortunately.
Wait, what's not promising for me?
Oh, wait, yeah, sorry, not for you.
I'll get lost in the
Triari. Everything's great for
Hold up.
You keep doing you. Yeah, look. El Caster moment, let's be honest.
Yeah, Caster moment out here, not gonna lie. But look, it's slightly worse though for Queen Alex, as she just gets absolutely pincered from all sorts of positions. And yeah, look, for Triari, it's everything is looking unfortunately rather downhill, which is to a certain degree not even their per se fault, but it's more so due to a technical issue. And yeah, look, would be nice to see them at some point finally get past all the technical difficulties and get to a full 5-player core into the game. After, I believe, well, week 1 seen them in a full 5 core. After that, I believe week 2 you've mentioned that it was with a sub, and well, week 3 without a sub at all. So yeah, look, I think by this point we're going to be seeing a rather prompt conclusion to the game, with Big Brain Esports to possibly claim something across the lines of a 7-0, 7-1 victory. And well, for Triari, it's either back to the drawing board or back to, well, assembling another computer for one of their players, maybe.
Yeah, Toad might need a bit of an upgrade, but hey, 3080s are cheap right now. That might not even be the issue, but you know, why not jump on it?
Update.
Yeah, look, Triari, it is really unfortunate to see them in this position. I mean, a team that has already proven they have 7-0 capability. I mean, they did it to Volps. And again, I think they have really just got the short end of the stick in a lot of these matchups. I mean, 4-player core against Salted Edge, now a 4v5 on stream against Big Brain, and saying that, Big Brain, 2nd seed team right now, currently sitting in 2nd. It was going to be a big game for them with the core 5. So Now only having 4, it's going to be even more difficult. But that angle there from Queen Alex is going to be a rather dangerous one, unless it is droned out here by Big Brain, and I don't believe it has actually been checked. But unfortunately for Triari, they're not going to be able to capitalize on that because, well, Queen's currently not really watching.
Yeah, look, it might be a little bit of a rough time, really, for Queen Alex. First of all, well, she does have the backup of, TikTok, but in saying that, well, TikTok is running a suppressed Alder as well for all the memes and intents and purposes, so not a whole lot of long-range engagement potential. Apart from that, really, well, Triari don't really expand too far, so they have all the good secure positions, and getting rid of Yoshi. Now that is going to be a huge initial blow to the strat of Big Brain.
The window player as well, actually the first to fall this time for Big Brain. That is a big kill for Triari to find, especially with, well, having that extra crossfire now removed. It is going to make things harder for Big Brain here, who are still yet to sort of clear the wall out. That nade also yoinked there by that Wamai, and that is going to make things even harder here. But Cheese now to open up the wall with the Habanas. Bernabear's going to find one on the flank. Chloe as well taking down Queen Alex, and Triari, they're just starting to fall apart. Fish Noodle to take down Ice as well, leaving Ticked Off again in a 1 versus 4 situation. We'll take down Bernabear to kick things off. The Alder definitely has enough bullets to get the job done right now. However, isn't going to check the rotate through sight into the meeting room, and Sledge going to be there to greet her in the long haul, taking Big Brain to match point, a 6-0 attacking half, but in a 5 versus 4 Cthulhu, I don't think we were expecting much different, to be honest.
Yeah, look, not at all. I think, unfortunately, this may be just the conclusion of the matchup in just one more round, just given the sheer unfortunate outcome of it all. A valiant effort, though, from Triari, and I definitely think that once we would have seen a full 5-core, quite a fair few rounds would have gone completely the opposite way in favor of Triari, and it would have been a much closer turnout. But it's just, yeah, it is what it is. Amper's not particularly happy about the hit registration as well, maybe. And
don't do that, because then Triari will be 2 players down.
Yeah, that's only 3 cores, so
unadvisable.
Unadvisable in the current state of things, yeah. But if you do want to get rid of your PC, maybe Toad
donation
might accept the donation, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, trade for trade.
Good trade. Yeah. Take
one burnt PC for a working PC.
We take those. I believe that is what they call stonks in with the hip kids. But look, memes aside.
10 seconds remaining.
Triari have done a valiant effort attempting to keep up with Big Brain. Obviously, with 4 players, things are going to be difficult. But, yeah, look, it happens to the best of us. Something, however, that I think is quite funny to notice is Ash is being played here. After we slandered her in the previous game, saying that she was not very useful, here she is. Fragging power on the board. Queen Alex, a gunner for Triari, looking to do some work with the G36C here.
Yeah, G36C, despite all of the nerfs that came in for R4C, is one of the more stable and probably one of the most stable guns in the whole Siege history. Didn't really receive a whole lot of nerfs at all, and one of the beams of damage, absolutely. So now it's in hopes of trying to do some sort of a game changer here. Drop shot from Bernabear, though, will be shutting down all those dreams and intents and purposes. So we're back to square one, really. Unfortunate for Triari, and with a 3v5 with a match point, look, not a whole lot of things are looking forward there.
Yeah, especially now with both nades being completely yoinked off the board. That's the Russian 2.5. I did not even... I was like, what scope am I looking at right now? That is an interesting choice on Habana's gun of all guns, albeit I rate it. I really do, Ice. Commendable effort. But yeah, like they take down Chloe, 3 versus 4. Definitely doable here for Triari. We've seen them get it down to more favourable
Ooh.
odds. However, the Gon 6 at the soft wall is going to be grabbed by, I believe, one of the last remaining Wamires. This shield yet to be cleared, but with no more explosive utility remaining, they are going to opt for the gunfight instead. Amber is going to be there to collect that frag, and she is going to walk away victorious. But now in a 3 versus 3, Big Brain got to start worrying a little bit here. The bomb's going down.
Oh, yeah, especially with the plan starting to go down. Something needs to be done. Yoshi, where's the yokai drone? What is happening? Instead, it's a C4. She's just 3-pointers it like Kobe out there. And, well, we're back to a 3v1, but this time it's Big Brain on the back foot.
Oh, that's a lovely headshot from Yoshi.
Fried.
10-1, might I add, by the way. The bomb yet to go down. It's a 1 versus 1. Ticked off, giving away her position just outside Janet Hallway. Is going to opt for the rotate down the long haul. Needs to find this final frag. Looking the wrong way, though. Triari are going to find a round amongst the source. It is a 6-1, not a 7-0. They don't want to go without a fight. And these girls definitely have some fight left in them. As you can tell, the excitement there from Ticked Off in the chat. They didn't go kicking and screaming. They definitely went kicking, but I mean, look, one round diff hits diff. You take those. you do take those if you're Triari, especially given the circumstances.
Yeah, look, definitely a good moment for Triari, at least yet. Not the full-blown, flawless loss. So, good, at least for Mentor. This is kind of at least some sort of redemption factor here. A retry, though, from BB will be signaling that they want to kind of retry, give this site one more chance, see what could be really remedied here, because, I mean, for the longest time, Burner Bear was isolated from the rest of the team. No support whatsoever, neither the utility-wise nor fire support either, so it felt a little bit odd seeing Burner Bear fight off almost the whole squad of Triari, and literally not a single other defender really moved around to try to kind of cover any sort of position, apart from maybe Chloe with the castle, but that got outed rather quickly. So slight change in the positioning of the utilities there, but will it be enough though? That's a whole different can of worms, I will have to say, and well, I suppose curious what is actually going to come out for Triari for this round and the next 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
I mean, if we see some Echo Drone employed here, that could make things completely different for Big Brain. Obviously, we do have them in play for Yoshi. 10-2 now. But we do have obviously some different holes opened up. Obviously, this crossfire now for Yoshi to try and hold her teammate. Oh, Chloe!
Oh.
Would it? Oh, the Gian as well. Disgusting. You have to do the free. I think it's just banter at this point. But Queen Alex has come up white and actually found one last. With no crossfire from both top and meeting. No one can take down the Ash here on white. But Yoshi will find Amber. And that is going to be at least a good refrag. But the 2 players left for Triari have equalized here. And they are going to look to try and make a play, possibly through Janitor, or at least maybe get this main wall open. But in a 3v2, Queen Alex takes a considerable amount of damage. Does find her double, though, to take down Yoshi, and things suddenly start to look up here for Triari.
Yeah, with Cheese now gone, it's all down to Fish Noodle to try to do some form of work, and well, work is being conducted here, Fish Noodle. Last player standing, but why are you in the middle of the hallway is completely a different question, but yeah, look, Triari back on the board, 2nd point, comeback incoming.
If this goes to OT, I don't know what I will do or say, because it shouldn't, if we're being honest. But if it does, it will just highlight how much Triari are willing to put in to this matchup. 2 rounds there, some really good flank work from them. Coming up white, Queen Alex finding those kills on the player just outside of stock, allowing her teammate to get in there, completely throwing off the crossfire. Obviously, the Echo no longer watching that angle, allowed the Ash to push up. Did find one in stock, but then was pretty much immediately fragged out by Ice on the Hibana. Do have to commend the efforts there on the Hibana. But I mean, on top of that, the Russian 2.5 really just doing her justice. So commendable. I'm genuinely dumbfounded. Triare should have been a 7-0. What should have been a 7-0 to Big Brain is now turning out to get pretty spicy here. Cthulhu.
Absolutely.
I really do want to see Triare win more here. I really do.
Yeah, look, Priori certainly pushing this to be their kind of return, despite some of the early issues and inconsistencies. Now the past 2 rounds have been just absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, look, even some sort of a cheeky banter, some very bit nippy on the chat as well. Gotta give it to them. They are definitely fighting back. They don't want to go into the night quietly, and it seems like a bit of a rush play with a live drone. I respect that because look, it's only Yoshi there on the drone. So as soon as that's spotted and outfragged, could be the play.
If they can just play the gunfight here, 1v4, and take out the Echo player, that could be big. Obviously now with the bulletproof cameras on the EMP device, it's going to be able to shut that droning down a smidge. But, I mean, I don't think that's going to stop the push at all. Too deep here. The Z ping's obviously coming out. This bulletproof camera is going to be doing work. First smoke out here for the defense. So good to see Big Brain dumping that utility. But here comes some of the attacker's utility as well. Needs to be thrown out, possibly clearing out that Yokai camera. Not too sure. But Burner Bear on the Jaeger is going to be returning back down main.
Well, that is a long
Try
run.
and help. That's a good smoke. Locking off that back angle on the ambulance there. It's going to force Amber to peek a little bit closer here. But, I mean, I think Triari have come to a little bit of a stall. They've been called out on their play, and now pretty much everyone from Big Brain is looking in their general direction.
Yeah, with Cheese as well, busting out the Shumiha launcher as well. Things are looking a little bit dangerous. Fish Noodle, so close from landing the quality headshot, but as it stands, really, well, all of the reinforcements have been actually moved around. The bulletproof shield as well have been moved, but from Triari, it's also quite a rotation. They realize that, look, they're getting stalled out. There's literally nothing to be achieved here. That is a big box for the reflex side. By the way, Bearing 9 is cursed in general in that regard. You put a Russian red dot on the bearing, it is going to be literally taking your whole screen. But I say that Amber finds the opener and gets opened up upon, and it's a double. Yeah, look, this is looking rather dicey.
2 kills now on the board for Big Brain and only 1 for Triari. Things start to get a little bit more dicey here. And I mean, the time also needs to be taken into consideration. 2 minutes and 20 seconds used downstairs Cthulhu to achieve 1 frag. All of that for a small drop of blood. Triari haven't really made a dent in the defense. They still have plenty of Shumikers in the hands of Cheese. Echo on the board, the Legion traps as well. Chloe, unfortunately, with no smokes, but as mentioned, being one of the best smoke players in the league. Shotgun in hand to great ice on the bottom of the stairs. Coming up for the second. Isn't going to quite find Queen Alex, though. Not best. The Ash player is going to come down. Not going to find one. The Legion trap in her foot. And Legion herself finishing things off. Fish Noodle there. GG's in chat. Big Brain, after a small hiccup, are going to walk away with a 7-2. So the round difference takes a little bit of a hurt. But at the end of the day, the dub is a dub. And there we go. Big Brain get the job done. Triari, valiant effort.
Yeah, valiant effort from Triari. Look, unfortunate turnout as it is, but because you look at the scorelines, and it was all very, very stable amount of frags across the whole board, really. On the side of Big Brain, yeah, look, quite a fair few things still need to be fixed up, but regardless of that, 7-2 is still good. They managed to yoink away another 3-pointer, which does keep themselves nice and steady in that second position, I believe, on the leaderboard. And yeah, look, apart from that, there's not really much to be said. Bank probably needs to be at least either tidied up or completely avoided, because once again, like I mentioned before, it's one of those maps that hasn't really slotted in itself into the whole meta. It's not something like, say, Villa or even what would be the other one to really, well, Coastline before it got removed. But Villa kind of became one of those like tertiary maps, one could even say, really, within APAC meta. Whereas Bank, yeah, niche map, something that needs to be thoroughly studied. Otherwise, you risk into fumbling the bag and completely snowballing yourself out of a victory, like Big Brain nearly did, really. Those two rounds on their defense were definitely looking rather spooky for for their chances.
There were a lot of rounds as well that Triari had like two players from Big Brain on like 1 HP, and you know, thankfully they clutched for the sake of Big Brain. But I mean, in a 4v5, there were a lot of times that Triari were way too close to snatching rounds away. That, let's be honest, they probably shouldn't have been taking in any regard. But I mean, you do have to, again, commendable effort from the girls. They have stepped up and gone above and beyond for ultimately a game that was theirs to lose pretty much round two. And I mean, Big Brain, while yes, they did win, you do obviously have to highlight the fact that there were so many rounds that were A, way too close for comfort, but also B, actually losing two. Losing two in a 4v5 situation is something that you really do have to look at and take into consideration, serious consideration, when you sort of go away from this evening and then go into next week's scrims, preparations, VOD reviews. I believe it'll definitely be something that they are going to talk about. But a 7-2 is also nothing to really shy away from. Still a pretty decent dub, 5 rounds for the round difference and the 3-pointer. Obviously, you can't really argue against that if you are a Big Brains fan / player. So either way, big things from both teams, albeit Big Brains get the points, but I think Triari get the clout in this one, if I'm honest. They definitely did show up in a 4v5.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, they put up a great effort overall. It's just, yeah, shame we didn't get to see the core 5, but look, it is what it is. Maybe week 4 will be much more successful for that roster, but look, it is what it is. Week 3 is unfortunately an L for them, but yeah, I'll certainly have to agree with you. A very valiant effort from the girls.
Yeah, it was really big, and I mean, you do love to see it. They stepped up, they did really well. I do believe we have the standings for this evening after the games played. I will get confirmation. Here we are. We are going to get to have a look. Sitting pretty in first, Warriors. No really big surprises there. Big Brains keeping their second place spot. Vertex sitting happily at third, and now RDC no longer tied for that fourth place. They are going to lock themselves into a top 4 slot over Altered Edge. That is going to be good seedings for them. Triari unfortunately find themselves now down in 6th, and Benchwarmers and Volps staying in relatively similar positions to where we found them in the previous week's standings. Cthulhu, anything really standing out for you here?
Look, I'm gonna be real. I am quite surprised with the turnout that Radical Rebels shown us. Definitely a promising one, to say the very least. And going into the future matches, I'll be definitely keen to see what they will be able to achieve further down the line. Vertex as well, the team that has a little bit of a shaky beginning, but later down the line managed to finally find themselves back into the swing of things. Certainly keeping themselves in that top 3 is looking very, very promising. Unfortunately, though, I really wish we've seen a little bit more from Volpes and Benchwarmers, but alas, just certain things didn't line up. Definitely curious to see what will Triari be able to really put up later down the line. Unfortunately, tonight, well, it's a 7-2, unfortunately.
7-2s on both the on-stream games and 7-0s on both the off-stream games. It's funny how the universe works sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it's current standings, obviously, with Warriors on the top. It is anyone else's game to do their best to try and be the first team to hand the Warriors an L in 2 current seasons of Women's League. And I think that is what everyone's going to be sort of aiming to do in the future. Obviously, there are teams that I think can definitely bring that. To Warriors in one of these upcoming games. I mean, some of them are looking really good. Especially, I do want to highlight Triari again. I definitely think with the core 5 on the board and maybe another week of play, they could possibly look to make themselves one of those top 4 teams. They definitely have the ability to contend for one of those slots, given that they actually get to play with 5 in the lobby at some point. But yeah, I mean, Big Brain really cementing themselves in good for the top 2. And the rest of the team's really just sort of starting to settle into the general groove of things. You start to see it usually week 3, week 4 of the Women's League. It happens most seasons. Teams will start to get into the groove, start getting back into the scrims, getting into the games. It's all really good. Speaking of the games and everything good about the Women's League, we have some very lovely people behind the scenes that make everything happen, and we do have to thank them. What else would we do without them? Our lovely sponsors, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Zowie, Ubisoft Computer Alliance, and ZQ Racing. We'd probably be lost a little bit, Cthulhu, wouldn't we, without them?
Yeah, we'll be quite lost in a sauce. Big shout out to our wonderful friends and our sponsors. And look, Proto, I mean, with week 3 concluding it all up, certain upsets did definitely come about to fruition, and certainly it sets us up with quite a number of questions really for what will be the kind of the conclusion of week 4, whether we are going to be seeing any big shakeups or whether it's just more teams kind of solidifying their positions in that top 4.
Look, it is the future, Cthulhu. We can sit here and we can talk about it all night, but if you want to find out what happens in the coming weeks, you are going to have to tune in next week, same time, same place, the same team that you all love. Thank you to everyone for tuning in this evening. Thank you to everyone in the booth with us, obviously Alex and Nuttery on the observation. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed the games as much as we have on the desk tonight. My name is Proto. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week.
Watch me now. Watch me now. Watch me now. Everybody talk. I just get it done. Everybody talk. I just get it done.